Thank you, Dean Frank. Thanks to all of you for being here. We're grateful to you for taking the time to join us. Tale of two birthdays. On Wednesday, it would have been the 92nd birthday of Joel Fleischman. Known to many of you, he was a friend and mentor of mine, a friend and contemporary of Tom's. And Joel was such a Renaissance man that for a long time he wrote the wine column for Vanity Fair magazine. But his true expertise was in philanthropy. And I think it's true to say Joel knew more about philanthropy than anybody else. And what Joel always said was that the true philanthropists, the greatest philanthropists, the most effective philanthropists are, of course, generous with their resources, but they do much more than that. They provide a vision. They're intellectually engaged with the folks they're supporting, and they do it over decades. By that measure, our university does not have a greater philanthropist than Tom Keenan. And I might argue that no university has a greater philanthropist than Tom Keenan. His involvement here at Carolina is legendary. And we, of course, see the Keenan name on buildings around our campus. And there are all kinds of visible markers of Tom's vision and generosity, but just as important are the things that nobody sees. The engagement, the vision, the wisdom, the commitment to making Carolina better in so many different ways. And the other birthday that we're here to celebrate is, of course, Tom's, whose birthday is on Sunday. So let's all give Tom a hand and wish him a happy birthday. Tom, thank you very much indeed for your extraordinary support of Carolina. On behalf of the university, on behalf of all of my predecessors, and on behalf of generations of Carolina students to come, we could not be more grateful. Thank you indeed. It's my pleasure to turn it over to Larry Wheeler. You don't have many conversations about art in this great state before Larry Wheeler's name comes up. So Larry, over to you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chancellor. So many sunny faces in the crowd this afternoon. I guess it was about 3 years ago, this building was just emerging, and my good friend Tom Keenan called me up. He says, Larry, I want to commission a work of art for this fantastic new addition to the business school. And I'm hoping that you will oversee it. I said, oh, Tom, that's just my favorite thing to do in the whole world, is to commission art and to work with artists. Nothing could please me more. I said, I'll get a group of well-informed friends of mine who have worked in the arts, and we'll find the perfect artists for this project. So I called on Linda Doherty, with whom I'd worked for so many years at the North Carolina Museum of Art, chief curator there. I said, Linda, will you help on this? Of course, love to do it. I knew she would, of course, because she loves to work with artists and she likes to commission art with other people's money too. And Katie Ziegler, who was the director of the Ackland, I asked Katie to help me, and of course she said yes. And Liza Roberts had just finished this major study of the leading artists of North Carolina. And I said, Liza, you're the best informed. Can you help me on this project? Absolutely. Liza's here today. I must acknowledge Becky Naples, who works with the business school, but has been my solace through all this. You know, once you get a project going, particularly an art project, through the bureaucracy of the state of North Carolina, I have some experience in that, but I was not so accustomed to the bureaucracy of the University of North Carolina. And it can be something else. You have to have people who know how to get things from here to there. And for a while, I wasn't sure we were going to get this sculpture from Switzerland to Chapel Hill. But through the intervention of the best minds and leading forces of the university, we did it. So my little committee, we got busy. We talked about some of the great artists that we might commission within reason to do this project. We looked, of course, in New York and all the places you look for artists. And then it came to our attention that there was this hot young artist in South Florida, and his name was Ben Leone. And Ben had graduated from the University of North Carolina with a degree in art. And he was making these really audacious projects throughout South Florida. So we looked at what he was doing and we said, hey, we need to look no further. We think this is the guy for us because he has all the credentials of the university, he has the experience already, and he thinks big. He's a big time creator. So I called Ben, and Ben said yes. I would love to be involved in this project, and I would, in fact, be honored to be a part of this project. So today, after 3 years of all kinds of negotiation and with the license to Ben to be as creative as you possibly can, be as bold as you possibly can, and don't let anybody get in your way. And today we see the results of that vision. So thank you, Ben. And I must say that I was so moved when I saw the finished work. I truly was. Not always moved by particular works of art, but in this case I really was, because it accomplished everything that we had discussed. That all the things that we feel the work of art should feel and what it should project. Not only is it probably one of the most significant works of public art on this campus, but in the town of Chapel Hill and in this region. It's really great. So Ben, thank you. I've so appreciated your friendship and your ability to change courses when necessary and to keep this very complicated process on track with your great artistic vision. So thank you, Ben Leone.
Well, I don't know if my remarks were made public prior to this, but I think you guys nailed about every single element that I was going to talk about. So if you don't mind me reiterating a few things, I'll kind of go through my thought process on this project. But I'd like to first thank everyone who was involved in this. Larry, thank you so much for the kind words. It's been an honor working with you through this process. It's been an honor to get to know you. I admire so much what you've done in the state of North Carolina and through the arts, and really want to take a moment to also acknowledge everyone else who was on the selection committee. Liza Roberts, Linda Doherty, everyone else who was involved. Thank you, Chancellor Roberts, and thank you so much, Dean Frank, for the kind remarks. You guys meant so much throughout this process. Your support, everything was so meaningful. Bringing something like this to life, it's never a solitary effort. It takes coordination, it takes trust, and it takes a great deal of people to make something like this come to life. So I'd like to thank Dave Moore and his team. I don't know where you guys are here, but you made this process seamless. You were there around every corner to help us with things that we needed done, and it just meant so much to us. I want to also recognize Becky Naples. You've been an extraordinary resource from the very beginning. Your positivity, your resourcefulness, your responsiveness, and your constant willingness to help make this project not only smoother, but genuinely enjoyable. It means so much. So thank you, Becky. And lastly, I have to thank someone who I believe all of us here have felt the impact of. Someone who we all admire, Tom Keenan. Tom, it was your vision that made this all possible, your commitment to the arts, and your enthusiasm to make something like this and to create impact within your community. I know it's something that's always been important to you, and it's something that I deeply admire. So I thank you so much for everything you've done and your generosity, and so it means the world to me, so thank you. I think everyone enjoys a round of applause. They deserve it. So throughout my career, I've become increasingly interested in exploring this relationship between the built world and the natural world. And as I got into this project, there was something that was immediately evident with what they were trying to accomplish with this site. There was this shared intention among the architects and everyone involved to create something that truly highlights this environment that we're sitting in today. And from what I've learned through conversations with Becky, Tom, Larry, Dave, everyone who was involved, is that this new addition to the business school was always meant to be more than just a building. It was envisioned as a space where students could think creatively, find inspiration, and engage with an environment designed for them, one that actively contributes to their growth and the trajectory of their careers. And in approaching this work, I wanted to reflect and reinforce that ambition. So ultimately, it felt the most important aspects of this work were to essentially locate and scale it in a way that made the greatest impact. This site presents a unique opportunity. You have Blythe Road above us, almost 2 stories above. You've got the pedestrian bridge that connects to the original Keenan Flagler Business School. And it becomes something that you can move alongside and experience all around. Even behind us, you drop down 2 levels and this work becomes otherworldly. And so by siting it in a way that creates this movement, creates a vehicle that everyone can experience, you then bring into consideration how this site relates to you and your own perspective. Situating this work here, allowing it to grow in scale from the pedestrian bridge, it becomes not just an isolated object, but a vehicle. It's a conduit to experience what we have here. So I want to just kind of take a moment to direct you through my thought process and how I felt that this work made most sense. There's a way to experience a site, and there's a way to have something that you create that then takes you into an experience. And so as the scale kind of, as you essentially move around the site, this work alters in scale. You know, when you're up in Blythe Road, it dwarfs in comparison to the overall site. When you're up on the pedestrian bridge, you have this eye-level experience. You have the intended scale down here, and then when you're down below behind us, it almost draws you up into the surrounding environment when you're looking at it. And that for me is where this exploration between the built world and natural worlds begin to settle. My hope is that this sculpture doesn't simply occupy a space, but it activates it, and that it encourages a kind of awareness, an awareness of scale, of perspective, and of how we move throughout and relate to the environments that are around us. If this succeeds in what I think, it invites even a moment of pause, reflection, or realization of place, then it becomes a part of the same intention that this project was originally shaped around, to support curiosity, creativity, and growth. And so again, I'm so honored to be here with all of you. I'm so honored to have made an impact on a community and a university that had such a great impact on my life. And so I thank you all for being here.